can say a lot about Kanye, but can you really call a black man anti-black? And isn't all of this stuff that he's doing right now really about the fact that he's mentally ill? And besides, what does Kanye's antics have to do with all of the broken ish we talk about here on Brokish? Well, I'm glad you asked because we're talking about it after the break.
Brokers, welcome to another episode of Brokish, where we talk about the unbelievable ish this country has done to keep us broke. Now here are your hosts, Amber and Erika.
Hey y'all, this is Amber.
And I'm Erika.
And y'all, today on Brokish, we're talking about Kanye.
Amber, first of all, let me just say that, okay, first of all, this conversation is not about Kanye, in my opinion. And we're going to talk about that. So we actually not talking about his ass. But what I'm really mad about is the fact that you are making me do this, that you drug me down this rabbit hole with you. And so I'm mad about it. But then at the same time, I'm like, but the people need to know.
They do.
So I'm really going back and forth between like anger but this is what y'all here to do.
But I'm going to make it up to you because I'm buying you some Kim Kardashian Skims for Christmas.
I don't use shapewear.
Call me a fat bitch without calling me a fat bitch. Yes.
Why are you starting with me?
I'm sorry. This was my idea. I mean, that part is true, but you all got to be mad at me about it. We just trying to help somebody. That's all.
So, y'all, normally we would talk about what we've been doing, but Amber sent me this video that's 3.5 hours long. That's what I've been doing. Trying to get through a 3.5 hour video. That's what I've been doing, y'all, since the last show. Trying to get through a 3.5 hour video.
Can I tell y'all something and y'all promise not to judge me? So I've been like watching Kanye in random pockets, but also I don't know how it happened on my YouTube. But like those pimple videos, like
the pimple poppers.
Yes. And the ingrown hair videos. Y'all, I have gone down the rabbit hole. Oh. And
you don't watch Dr. Pimple Popper? We love it.
No. But these like videos where they be like pulling these hairs out and stuff, and like I be so embarrassed, like when my kids walk by my phone I like grab it because I don't want them to see what I'm watching. But so yes, Kanye is the bad gift that keeps on giving because now I can't stop watching.
It's a complete train wreck, but I think it says so much about Black America, and I hate to use this broad brush of Black America, right? But I feel like it says a lot about all of us today. Mm-hmm. So, y'all, I actually, Amber, I had to mess around and take some notes, child. Because I'm going, now that I'm in school, everything is an academic exercise, right? Even though, I'm not learning nothing.
Don't say that. Yes, you are.
I'm talking about from Kanye.
Oh.
So I'm over here taking my, and plus I can't remember, right? It's 3.5 hours long. So I literally was trying to let me write all this. And he says so much stuff.
And he just talks and talks. So for everybody who is listening, the 3.5 hour interview we're referencing is Kanye's interview with Nori and DJ. I don't even know how to say his name, EUF or whatever, on Drink Champs, the Drink Champs podcast. Okay. So they had Kanye on to kind of talk about the state of his affairs, political, fashion, otherwise. And obviously the interview blew up for a lot of reasons. It's so funny to me that, of course, the anti-Semitism, which was terrible, like the dude was just off the chain. But in the midst of the conversation about all of the terrible things Kanye said, I have yet to see one article that talked about the misogyny, the misogynoir. Like, he was just across the board a hot mess. And so we are unpacking that today, not because, like Erika said, we Kanye stands or,
Well, actually, you need to call him Ye because he did change his name. So,
Ye.
If you out there, Ye, we not trying to be disrespectful. It's just, we go all the way back. So we gonna try to call you Ye because you want to be called Ye, respectfully.
Yes, fair enough. But there's so much to unpack because we talk a lot about the systems that seek and conspire to break Black people, but very rarely do we talk about the ways that sometimes we are complicit in upholding those systems, in the ways that we become invested in those systems and delusional to the fact that it does not matter how much status or wealth or influence we accumulate, that those systems are always going to be fundamentally adverse to us. And so really what we want to unpack today is the insidious anti-Blackness that is pervasive in the Black community that we not talking about.
So can we start, Amber? Is it okay if we start with the anti-Semitism? Because I would like to sort of deal with that piece.
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know and who didn't waste their life watching that video, he had many things to say, and a lot of it is about what he says is like the awful Jewish media, right? The Jewish record labels, the Jewish bankers, the Jews own all the money everywhere in all of the United States, according to Kanye, right? So the Jews. He even said something to me which was awful. He said, I want Jewish children to wake up and ask their dads about why they do the things they do to Black people, to my people. That's
why he talking about Jamie Lee Curtis mentioning his kids in the next breath. Like, I'm like, bro, you are doing the same thing that you're accusing her of doing to a whole race of people. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
He says so much, and we gotta take it step by step. We're gonna get to Jamie Lee. We're not at Jamie Lee yet.
Yes.
So he said all of these terrible things, but here, blanket statement, here is what I hate about what Kanye does in this video and in general, is that like many people, Kanye comes with half truths, right? And so he comes with the half truth, and then people either know one half or the other half, or there's some people who know the whole truth, right? But if you know a half and you're like, okay, that makes sense, and maybe you don't know the other half, then you're going to latch on to what he's saying. Mm-hmm. So specifically related to the anti-Semitism, I think this country is awful in the way that I think it's awful in terms of our relations with Israel, how we completely undermine and ignore the plight, the concerns of the Palestinian people, how we have this tendency to label anything that is not pro-Israel as anti-Semite. I hate all of that. And I think that there is a lot of room for criticism in terms of people against American Jews. I do. I think that there's a lot of room for criticism because of the things that we do politically, all of the money, just all of the nastiness and all of those things. So I think that there is room in terms of criticism for Jews, but I don't mean that in terms of I think that they're running, all of the industry and they're all the money. I'm talking about what I see in terms of how some people treat the Palestinian plight. And that for me is a non-starter, right? Like, so that for me is the part where I have a lot of angst. Having said all of that, I think that it is irresponsible, and I think that it is awful for him to use these words and talk about a group of people in this way, basically, I think because he doesn't get his way. So I don't think that this is really about, again, I don't think it's about Kanye, but it ain't about Jewish people either. Okay? Because in another situation, it's going to be another group of people and him not getting his way. So I don't know how you feel about that, Amber. That's my take on sort of just the background of how he's sort of leveraging this term in general, or these terms in general.
I do agree that Kanye has a half-truth problem, but I think Kanye also has a precision problem, because I think there is a way for you to criticize the political machine that fuels American Zionism, right? The pro-Israel, unequivocal, that has nothing to do with Jewish people. Because in the same way that you can criticize Black Lives Matter and that has nothing to do with Black people. You're criticizing a political machine. You can criticize the American Zionist political machine and separate that from Jewish people, and not trope in stereotypes, and not trope in minstreling, and honestly peddling the same white supremacy that you're railing against, because
Yes.
that stereotype is rooted in whiteness, right? That was propagated by white people to stir discord and animosity towards Jews. Okay, so that is the same thing you're fighting against. You're doing it. So I do agree with you. There's plenty of room to criticize the American Zionist political machine, 100%. But what
Yes.
the point I think that Kanye misses is that, like most hoteps, okay, he starts in the middle of the story. He starts in the middle of the story without recognizing the larger backdrop and the larger investment that inequitable systems have in pitting marginalized people against each other, right? So, of course, whiteness, inequitable capitalism is invested in you thinking that the problem you have because you're a rich Black man who feels like you're losing too much money, that is not a function of you doing business with Jewish people or Jewish controlled systems. That's a function of anti-Black capitalism, right? That's a function of the capitalist.
That's a function of capitalism.
Okay, I'll give you that. I that they're synonymous. I can receive that.
Well, and that for me sort of is the whole point. Like, to me, and of course this is just my natural perspective, but when I listened to him ranting and I listened to all of these things and read a couple of articles, to me, this is all about capitalism and how it's failing him as a Black man. Yeah. And that's just the root of all of this thing, because quiet as it's kept, if Kanye were able to use the machine that he's complaining about to his benefit, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have nothing to talk about.
Of course not. And have you noticed that all the people who allegedly failed him are people that he was proximate to, people that he was entangled with, people he was doing business with, people he was making money with. And of course, once they get off the Kanye train because it's no longer profitable for them, then he feels like a commodity. And it's like, What? Kanye, you mean capitalism commodifies people and then disposes of them when they're no longer useful? I didn't know.
I feel like there are some bad, because I'm pro sex worker, so I don't mean this in that way, but in the stereotypical sense, I feel like there are some bad pimps and hoes metaphors here in terms of what he's doing to himself and what he's mad about. And it's like, which way do you want it? So, but some interesting things, because I did, like I said, I took notes. So again, to the point of half truths, Kanye talks about, when I started, guys, I didn't have relationships with the factories. No, dum-dum, you didn't have relationship with the factories because Black people, okay? Black people don't have relationships with factories. We don't own the means of production of nothing. So yeah, Kanye, that's what happens when you're Black. And he's like, Jewish people owned the Black voice. And I'm like, some of the stuff I don't even know what it means. But then not only did he say Jewish people own the Black voice, but then Kanye said he is a Jew.
Because that's what I was just about to say. We all Black people are Jews, but Jewish people own the Black voice. Make it make sense.
So I'm just stuck, confused about, like, are we Jews or are we not Jews? And if we Jews, why are we talking? Even the little crazy people on the Drink Champs podcast was like, well, Kanye, if we all Jews, then why are we talking about ourselves? And I'm like,
yeah,
because we're not. Right. But also, like, where does this stuff come from? Like, I don't even,
because it's tropes. Like the all Black people are Jews is a hotep trope that is no different than when you try to correct white people and they say, well, I have a Black friend, right? It's this entitlement that you feel to say outrageous stuff by aligning yourself with the people you're saying it about, by somehow making that give you a permission to do things that are otherwise grossly unacceptable. And y'all, I went to college in DC, so I might have knew a whole tip or two. And I never quite understood that. Like this whole idea that they have very anti-Jewish points of view and then will turn around in the same breath and call themselves a Black Hebrew. And I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's like, you can call yourself a Black Hebrew all you want, or a Black Jew or a Black Israelite. That does not absolve you of saying crazy crap about people that you should not be saying, period.
And the conservative talking points are just so high. Like, I just don't understand. In Kanye's case, it's different because Kanye really is a class traitor, right? Like, I mean, he really has, in terms of class, he has escaped. He is not like the rest of us, right? So
Facts.
I can get Kanye. Like, I can even understand Kanye for wanting to be a conservative and have all of these different ideologies, because that is beneficial to him, because he legitimately, I can't say, I think that the man really has a lot of money, right? So I'm gonna even give him the conservatism, because it makes sense in terms of following behind all the people that are gonna help him to protect his wealth. But what I don't understand is the people on the Drink Champs and the people who watch the Drink Champs who also subscribe to all of these conservative ideologies, because it's like, y'all are broke, y'all are poor, okay? And the stuff that he's talking about and the relationships that he's talking about and the factories and the all of these things, this stuff ain't for y'all. It's not.
And you're missing the forest for the trees. To the extent that it relates to us, it relates to us because the reason why we can't do those things, the reason why people like Kanye are shut out, is because there is an intentional withholding and militarization of the information that leads to the accumulation of wealth, because poverty is pornographic. The benefits of wealth are amplified in a capitalist backdrop by the fact that there are people who can never have what you have because they don't know what you know, right? And so instead of talking about this like this is a problem with another marginalized group, Kanye missed a great opportunity to really talk to people about the fact that it does not matter how much money you accumulate as a Black person. There will still be people who seek to shut you out of the accumulation of wealth, because that is how the system is built. And that is the point that was missed. Like, nobody was shutting you out of the factory because Jews hate you. They are shutting you out of the factory because there is an intentional, deliberate effort in a capitalist society to keep people other than white people from accumulating wealth, because that's how the system is designed. And that has nothing to do with Jewish people at all, period.
No, it's just not the point of the story. And I actually think that he knows that, because at some points in the interview, he talked about the fact that I've crossed this anti-Semitic line, right? So he knows that, and this is, again, to the half-truth point. We all know that this country, again, takes Jewish issues and the pro-Israel stance, they take it very seriously. Like, that's just, to me, a fact. And so he knows that if he says certain things and he levels these threats or these, terms against Jewish people, he knows that people are going to have something to say about that. So he's over here trying to get y'all's attention. He's like, this is the way I can do it. Let me just start talking about Jewish people, and this is how I can get y'all to listen to me. Because if I talk about Black people, white people generically, y'all don't care. But watch this. So a lot of this is just him being an attention whore. But through his being an attention whore, he knows how to get the attention. And then look at us all giving it to him for the thing that he knew he was going to get the attention for.
That's true. That's true.
So, Amber, did you have, I have some other things here, but I want to make sure that you can talk about things that really got under your skin.
No, the stuff that I sent you was sort of in order as I was watching. And so,
okay.
Go ahead. I'll chime in with your next point, and then we can go from there.
Okay. So one of the things that really grated my nerves is that Kanye talked a lot about community. And so on Brokish, we talk a lot about community. We talk a lot about building community, building networks, because that's important, because we are not here by ourselves. We cannot win independently. We all need each other. That's the human condition. But when he talks about community, on the one hand, he's talking about, at least I think he's talking about Black Americans, right? He's talking about this Black community and, for the culture. And, I need y'all to support me. And I'm doing this, he says, to free Black people, right? Like, I'm doing this because I want us to win. He is not going to sit around here and talk about the Black community and how we need to support him. And then at the same time, I'm like, well, Kanye, where's my check? Because you're talking about community and you want to build us up and you want to save us, but you're not doing anything that I can see to help save the Black community. It looks like you're just trying to get rich on your own. It looks like you're just concerned about you and Kim Kardashian's kids being billionaires. And that really grates my nerves because we believe that, and we're like, yes, I gotta buy Kanye's album because I want to support Black businesses. I want to buy his shoes because I want to support Black people. Kanye don't need our support, and he's not using our support to do anything for us. And it drives me mad, Amber.
No, I think this is very similar to what we were talking about in our group chat the other day when we were. So I confided in Erika that me and my husband had joined this real estate investing group. And that I was struggling with all of this, the sort of propaganda in there. It's a real estate group for Black real estate investors. Okay. So people, this whole buy the block, all of this stuff. And, one of the things that you mentioned when I was talking to you about it is that sometimes we think that because we slap the label or the adjective Black in front of something, that it automatically becomes altruistic or that it automatically becomes beneficial to the people who bear the adjective. And Kanye is a reminder that slapping Black in front of capitalism does not make it any less violent to the everyday Black person.
It is more violent.
Because you let your defenses down. So when that sword comes swinging your way, you're not prepared to defend against it. And so you're going out here and you're spending $200 and $300 on them ugly ass shoes, buying the tickets, doing all of that stuff in the name of supporting someone whose interests are fundamentally adverse to yours. And when we talk about
not fundamentally on all levels.
Well, that's true. It's not really. You're right. But I mean, well, to some extent, at the end of the day, he still is a Black man. But yes, the interests are they're different, and I think that we forget sometimes that there have been, since we got on these waters, Black people who have, as a means of survival, been willing to align themselves with the oppressor, okay, in order to try to promote their own interests.
Amber, we can't say for their own survival in this case. This ain't for that ninja's survival.
You're right, because he got enough money to survive if he never said another word. You're right.
This is just because he wants to be richer than he is today. Because according to him, he is the richest Black man in the history of the world.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but Forbes did say something to that extent. I don't want to misquote the article, but they did say something about the fact that Kanye, I think it might have been the wealthiest rapper. I don't think it was the wealthiest Black man. I don't think that's true.
I'm just saying what he said.
He did. He said it. He opened the mouth God gave him, and he said it. I heard it too, sis. I heard.
But yes, that's why I want to be careful that when we're talking about people who, I don't want to make it sound like it's good, who are able to amass this kind of wealth, that we give them any passes. Like, they have all the means, they have access to all the information, they have all the tools. You don't get any passes from us. So for him to talk about community is stabbing us in the back.
Yeah, and also I think there's a very selfish way that Kanye wills community, because in the same context he's talking about my black children. You cannot only be invested in a community when your community members are on the line, when you feel like your community members' existence is in jeopardy. And that was, for me, the part that I took the biggest offense to, because I know at one point, shortly after he spoke about this, Nori was asking him about the killing of Black people and like how he basically was quoting Candace Owens by saying that many Black people aren't dying, like the statistics were wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you want us to be on here all up in arms about your Black kids who go to private school, who live in an $80 million mansion. And even if it's only one Black person getting shot in the street, that's too much. And so you can't leverage the community like a commodity when it's beneficial to you, but then decide to downplay the other concerns of the community when they're not applicable to your specific situation.
And
Again,
like you said
it's just
before,
very white supremacist.
he don't want to be a commodity, but he don't mind when anybody else is. Like,
Correct.
come on,
Correct.
Kanye.
Correct.
We got to get to Candace, but before we get to Candace specifically,
Let me take a sip.
look, I was meaning to tell you we need to have drinks like on Drink Champs and be like the black male podcasters out here just drinking and saying any old thing.
I got some Arbor Mist. I can go. I got some Arbor Mist. I can go get it.
So, to the point of conservative talking points, one of the things that Kanye mentioned, of course, is that he said that Planned Parenthood is our Holocaust museum, because he says that he does not understand why Black people are killing their babies, and Planned Parenthood is essentially at the heart of all of that, according to him. Okay, and he, in a different part of the interview, he talks about how, Jewish people are not killing their babies, it's us killing our babies. Now, Amber, I don't know, because I am not Jewish, but I have heard that the Jews don't even have rules against abortion in their religion. I have heard that abortion is not prohibited in the Jewish faith. So anyway, that was just something that I thought was interesting in all of that. But I really would encourage everybody to go and look at what a fetus at a 6-week, a 10-week development looks like. It is a cluster of cells. We are not talking about babies here. We are not talking about children. That is not what's going on. We are talking about people who want to have autonomy over their own bodies. And for him to equate that with the Holocaust is just horrifying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let me even take it even more. I'm gonna even go more Baptist, because I think it's disingenuous for people like me who, talk about life. Like I don't have a problem acknowledging that I believe life begins at conception, and also still being able to hold the truth that a woman has bodily autonomy and the right to choose an abortion. And part of the problem I have with people like Kanye is they like to start in the middle. So if you want to have a whole life ethic that life begins at conception, don't start at what happens when a birthing person gets to Planned Parenthood. Start with the backdrop against how most people get there, because they don't have access to maternal health care, because they don't have access to insurance, because women get paid 58 cents on the dollar for men. Okay. So start at the beginning of the story. I am not offended by anyone who has a whole life ethic. But my thing is, what are you doing and what policies are you promoting that is consistent with the whole life ethic that you have? Because what we know and what we've seen is when people have access to healthcare, when people have access to housing, when people have jobs, when people have the tools in their toolbox to make comprehensive decisions about their life and their wellness across the board, abortion rates decrease. Period.
Well, we have already had a show earlier where we talked about abortion, so we don't have to go there now. But my point is, I'm not even talking about for people who don't have access, don't have insurance, don't have this. I'm just talking about people who want to. And I think that's their business.
Yes, same.
And the fact that they do that, I think for him to equate that with the Holocaust, the death of Jews, I just feel like it's just awful, and I don't know why he would do that. Mm-hmm. And for him to act like abortion is something that is unique to the Black experience or Black people as well, like we don't own the market on abortion.
We don't even disproportionately have abortions compared to our presence in the American population. So what he's saying is just it's a conservative talking point. It's propaganda. It is propaganda.
And it's propaganda that is also shared with his friend. They claim to be friends, Candace Owens. So in me watching, I only watched 2 hours. Professor, I did not do the reading. I only got through 2 hours of the 3.5 hour video. But I did watch 30 minutes of a Candace Owens video. And in this Candace Owens video, Candace was in Paris with Kanye. They were, when they were at Fashion Week, I guess, Paris Fashion Week. And this is the point where they were, I think, at Kanye's show, and they were in the White Lives Matter t-shirts. I'm going to say something here that probably is controversial, but I think that Candace Owens is a media master. I think that that woman is a media genius. I think that she can use her words and half truths and statistics to build a story that is so compelling in a way that few people are able to do. And when I watch her, I am always in awe of how she's able to do that. So in this video, Candace is like the Jewish media, right? So they have to say the same things. So she's also talking about the Jewish media and how all they care about is the fact that Kanye and I were in White Lives Matter t-shirts, but they don't care about all these things, right? And she lays them out. So of course, one of the key things that she talks about is Black on Black crime. Nobody cares when Black people kill each other, but we care when the police kill those few Black people that you were talking about, right, Amber? So she's like, we care when that happens. Nobody is up in arms when this is happening, but we're up in arms when this is happening. One of the things that she said that was terrible is that she was talking about lynching. And she said there were only and I don't remember the exact numbers here. She said there were only 4,000 people that were lynched between 18, blah, 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 and today. But there have been over 2 million babies killed through abortion. But if you're just watching her show, if you're just listening to Kanye, this can be a compelling point for you. You can think, wow, that is true. People really talk a lot more about lynching than they do this other thing. And why is that? But she builds all these false equivalencies. And then we just go for it. And she says, all they care about is the fact that I was wearing this stupid White Lives Matter t-shirt. They don't care about this, this, and this. Well, hell, for you wore the White Lives Matter t-shirt because you wanted them to talk about it. You also not just wearing shirts that say there were only 4,000 lynches versus 2 million. But no, you wore White Lives Matter t-shirt because you knew that was going to get people talking.
Right.
And I don't have words. I don't have words. This whole show I don't have words in. I'm sorry.
I feel like Candace is such a, you can call her a master if you want. I feel like she is. I feel like she is in the political space the equivalent of somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, to me, she represents quintessential violence. I find her to be almost like sociopathic about the violence that she inflicts in the talk media space. She is predatory, and I have
100%
no compliments for her. I mean, I understand the point you're making because that takes skill. The reason why she's able to be predatory on the level that she is because she does possess a skill set. But I find her to be an incredibly violent person, and I spent a lot more of my brain cells than I ever wanted trying to figure out like what her angle is. Like, is it money? Does she really hate herself? And I just think at the end of the day that just in the same way there are people who have a weird gratification by killing other people or like torturing animals, and they have like that psychopathic tendency. I think this is her iteration of being psychopathic. I think she just enjoys the torture and the violence that she inflicts in the political space by undermining very valid concerns that have been raised about how Black people are treated in this country, about the BS that undergirds Republican politics here in the United States. And I think there's
All
just
politics
well, true
here
that,
in the United
true
States.
that, true that. But let me rephrase that: the explicit racism that is blooming in the Republican Party, as opposed to the latent polite racism in the Democratic Party. I think there is just a psychopathic gratification that she gets out of stoking this shit, and it is violent and it's weird and it's sickening to watch.
It is. And please, y'all, don't get me wrong. I am not a fan. I do not like Candace Owens. I agree with the things that you're saying, Amber. But just in terms of from a media perspective,
Yes,
I believe that she is masterful. Like the way that she is able to create these, to pair these half truths with so many lies. And the interesting thing for me is when I watched, and I only watched one episode, but when I watched it, it's almost like she's talking to Black people, even though I know Candace knows her audience is not Black people because Black people don't mess with Candace Owens like that. But she's almost having a conversation with Black people
to make the white people feel like they're getting a sneak peek into a private conversation. And it gets their jollies off because the white people feel like they're getting some private 411. And it also makes the white people think that there's more Candaces, like, because they say it. I live in Trump country, and they are convinced that there is a remnant out here of Black Trump voters with Confederate flags on our cars who, are out here at our family reunions telling our kids not to kneel during the singing of the national anthem. Like, I really believe that they believe that there is a remnant, like a whole family reunion somewhere.
Sleeper cells.
Yes. Because she makes them think that.
Well, so, I mean, I'm listening to her in awe and amazement because I think she's very skilled at what she's doing. And so she's having this conversation with Black people, it appears, when she knows she's talking to white people. But I went to the comment section because, I'm always in the comment section. The fascinating thing for me, Amber, and this was one of the scariest parts, is so many of the people I saw who left comments were folks from Africa who talked about how they appreciate Candace for educating them on things here. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
How did Candace get this kind of reach? And that was the scary part. There were literally like, I'm a South African, I'm a Nigerian, all these people jumping in the comments and like, thank you, Candace. And I was like, y'all, no. And as somebody who is not from here, it is easy to fall for her because she is so masterful. So anyway, that was just a side note that I thought was fascinating as I did try to go through the comments of what Candace was saying.
I also want to point out one more thing. In the same way that Black people can be agents of anti-Blackness, women can also be agents of misogyny and patriarchy.
Oh, girl.
And I just want to point that out because this is a learning exercise. And so when you look at people like Candace Owens and you see how they're positioning themselves and, comparing women who choose to have a medical procedure to terminate a pregnancy, or birthing people, I want to make sure I'm using inclusive language, who choose to terminate a pregnancy, to violent agents of the state, like that is gross. That is gross. That is gross. And it's especially gross for a woman to do it, for another birthing person or a person who has the capacity to birth to do it. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Well, I mean, she is the leader of the conservative fan base, right? And all the talking points, right? Like true womanhood and, like demure and dainty. And, we need to get back to traditional female values and traditional male values. And they want men doing all this kind of stuff. And they want, she didn't start pulling her hair all, she's all, because it's the episode of the Handmaid's Tale, right? Candace wanna live in Gilead, and she would be very happy about that.
But that's the problem with women like that, because it's like, Trick, you work. And I also just want to say one more thing, because we talk about the okey doke and Candace Owens. Did you see the article about Kanye agreeing to buy Parler from Candace's husband? And so, again, this idea of the nefarious commodification of people, the exploitation of people, like to see two Black people like allowing themselves to be agents of this garbage in real time, watching it play out, like literally watching another Black person exploit one Black person for the benefit of her and her white husband. It's like a master class in how this system seeks to exploit us and consume us. Okay, it's a master class.
It is. It is. And at the end of the day, Kanye is going to be like, I'm a martyr. Like, if he buys Parler and it doesn't go the way that he wants it to go, which we know it won't go the way that he wants it to go if he does it, right? Because of all the things you talked about before, this shit not going to work out.
And Black people can't say the stuff that racist white people can say. Kanye is going to get...
But they don't want to.
But I'm saying Kanye going to get on there trying to say what he say, and they're going to snatch it. And they didn't snatch it when Donald Trump did it. And they didn't snatch, and he's gonna feel real stupid when he realizes that the rules do not apply to him the same way that they apply to his white friends. Because he finna spend all this money to try to buy this platform, and the rules are gonna change when the ownership changes. Bless Kanye's heart.
But he knows the rules don't apply to him, because that's what he's been complaining and railing against, right? He's been complaining about the fact that so that's the part that is just so bewildering to me. Like, you know the rules don't apply to you, so why do you keep wanting to try to play the game? And it's because he's just only interested in being as rich as he can. He's not interested in community. He don't love y'all. This ain't for the culture. He not trying to lead nobody to God. None of that.
I think Kanye sincerely believes, and this is honestly where to me the commonality comes in, because in this way Kanye is no different than our sisters on Instagram selling tea, calling people low vibrational, all this stuff. I really think Kanye believes that capitalism can save us, right?
No, he doesn't.
No, did you hear the part about it? And let me tell you, he was surrounded by people who believed it. Remember the part where
they are sitting there like he is Jesus and they are at his feet.
When he talked about him and Diddy getting ready to buy a bank, or planning or discussing buying a bank together, and Nori and everybody, they start clapping. And I'm like, you know what? This shit is crazy. Because like they are all sitting here sincerely believing that capitalism can save them. And yes, this is almost like a caricatured version of it, because Kanye clearly is an extreme version of it, but it's no different than the girls on the Instagram telling you that you need to join a team to sell some tea and some shapewear, or build the block and buy the block. That's all the same belief that you can buy your way into a position in this system where you have security, and you cannot.
Is it all just multi-level marketing? Like, everybody think they...
Well, capitalism is a pyramid scheme. So, I mean...
Yes, you're right. You're right. But to the point about the bank, this is the thing that I really need y'all to know this. Okay? I really need y'all to know this. So, I have worked in the banking and finance industry, okay? Kanye talked about the fact that he had $140 million and JP Morgan Chase still ignored him. Okay. I just really want y'all to know that Black people in America have no wealth. Okay. And I mean, that's hyperbolic because we have a little bit, but it is so little that it might as well be nothing. Okay. Black people in America don't have any money. So when you say you want to build a bank for the culture, you are going to be disappointed because you will not be able to compete against banks that have access to more capital than you have. You set up a bank in a Black neighborhood, and yes, they want you to loan them money, and that is how you're going to make money, but they also don't have any deposits for you. I just want y'all to know that even a small credit union needs like $1 billion in deposits to be taken seriously. And that's a tiny one. To get enough Black people together to have $1 billion in deposits and assets under management, it's a lot. And y'all just got to stop with the Black banking. I just really need, because JP Morgan Chase is dealing in the trillions. They're not dealing in the billions, guys.
And that's why they will treat you like shiznit and you got $143 million in their bank.
So just don't let Killer Mike, don't let Diddy, because Diddy also said that he wanted to free Black people. He said that as well. I don't know what his plan was for freeing Black people, but he wants to do it. And Kanye wants to free y'all. Just don't give them your money. I mean, buy the shoes, I guess, if that's what you want to do, buy the music or whatever, but don't give them don't.
And stop believing that there is a place that you can reach financially where you will have a security blanket in this system that exempts you. Like, that is literally crabs in a barrel personified. That is a focus on getting crabs out of the barrel instead of tearing the barrel down, because crabs were not meant to live in a barrel. And Black banking is just pulling some crabs out. It is not addressing the problem of why you got crabs in a barrel, right? It's not. And that was, to me, one of the more astonishing parts of the interview, because I felt like that was sincere applause from the audience. Like, that, wow, this is, wow. Like, and I'm like, wow, what is having a Black bank going to do for you if you are not even safe on the street when you get stopped because you're speeding? Like, what is having a Black bank going to do for you if, when the appraiser comes in your house to evaluate the value and they see your Black face on the wall, that they decide it's worth less? What does a Black bank do to address those issues? Nothing.
Eventually, they're just going to complain about the same systemic issues that everybody else is complaining about. Like,
yes.
They going to get mad because they get robbed. All these other things.
So I just have to say, piggybacking off of that, in the same way Black capitalism cannot save you, one of the other things that I feel like becomes very evident in this interview is that white Jesus can't save you either. Because Kanye professed his belief in, support, allegiance to white Jesus about 11,220 times.
Well, he's a Christian Jew.
And to me, one of the more revelatory things was that Kim Kardashian is apparently some devout Christian woman who left her, her head covering and her ankle length skirt and her Kojic stockings at home. Because I'm like, I mean, child, I thought the word said you should know a tree by its fruit, but I'm so confused right now. But Lord, I'm not the fruit inspector, so let me mind my business. But
okay, judgy.
I know. That's why I said I'm not the fruit inspector. But listen, whatever. But I feel like it is not lost on me, and I hope it's not lost on anybody else, how the white evangelical machine is layered on top of and fueled by violent capitalism. And that is why it is so easy for people like Kanye to invoke it when they are talking about policies and when they are talking about things that are violent, that are violent and adverse to most of the people who are supporting them and who have helped them accumulate their wealth. And it was just interesting to me because I feel like the same delusions that Kanye is under about his empire building, the very same thing is true about the evangelical machine. We like to talk about building leaders, equipping people. That shit is empire building.
Family values.
Yes, it's empire building.
So, to the point, Amber, of family values, if you don't mind, can we go back to what Jamie Lee Curtis was saying?
Yes.
So apparently Kanye said that Jamie Lee Curtis tweeted or said, I don't remember, that they should take his kids away from him. Now, the interesting thing to me about this was, we just had an episode about CPS, right? And how even a threat, right, of somebody can really lead to your children being removed from you, right? Yes. So again, to the point of half-truths, you have this real thing that could be a threat, right? Somebody like Jamie Lee Curtis with her power and position saying out loud in a public space that somebody's children should be removed from them, that could be a real threat. And in ordinary circumstances could mean something. So again, Kanye is sort of living in between these very real problems that exist for Black people, but then sort of playing with it at the same time, because he's like, Jamie Lee Curtis said this to me, and my kids were kidnapped right in front of my face or in public. Now, first of all, Amber, you the lawyer. Okay, you didn't deal with custody, right? Is it required that you know where your children are 100% of the time? Like, does the judge expect that if it's your week, that you know, I mean, that your ex knows where the kids are every hour, or they under your care?
Let me just say this clearly, as a matter of law, absent the violation of a court order establishing custody or establishing who is supposed to have physical possession of a child or a minor, parents cannot kidnap their own children as a matter of law. You cannot kidnap your own children absent a court order that establishes physical possession and you are in violation of that court order. And so, yeah, you can't, the kids being taken by their mother or by agents of their mother, because he specifically said the Kardashian family. So I don't know if he meant specifically Kim or Kim's family members who were presumably acting upon the direction of Kim. You can't kidnap children when you are acting at the direction of the parents. Can't kidnap it. It's just not true. It's just not true.
So, but he plays these two things, right? So in the one breath, he's talking about what Jamie Lee Curtis said. And again, for a regular average person, that's a real threat. And at the same time, he's talking about this bull about my kids got kidnapped, right? And so he's always living in between these half truths. And I think that's why people are so brought in by the things he's saying, right? Because then he's also talking about baby mamas, and when you're going through the divorce and your baby mamas. So tell me what you thought about the whole kid situation and how he talked about that.
I'm not gonna lie. There was a moment in time when I did feel some sympathy for Kanye during that part of it. I'm going somewhere. Hold on.
Okay.
I knew that the language he used was off, but I do think that there is a very real phenomenon that happens in divorce where parents weaponize custody. And I don't find it hard to believe that that is something that's happening here. But I will tell you that all my sympathy went out the window when Kanye turned around and did the exact same thing he accused Jamie Lee Curtis of, and talked about Jewish children and their relationship with their parents. And to me, that is the clarion call and the recognition of how you recognize people who are not really about that life, who are not really for the people. When they are willing to, at any moment in time, perpetuate the same violence that they're complaining about when it benefits them.
That's him this whole time.
But that's what I'm saying. That's how, because you were talking about how people get drawn in and how people sort of get pulled in by the false statements because they contain half truths. And what I'm trying to do is, in there is a teachable moment. One of the ways that you can spot a wolf in sheep's clothing is somebody who is willing to perpetuate the same violence that they are complaining about and have a justification for why it is okay for them to do it. Because if it's a necessity anywhere, it's a necessity everywhere. It can't not just be necessary when it's you talking about protecting your kids. Because if your kids' health and wholeness and safety matters, so does mine, and so does yours, and so does the person down the street. And so you can't be willing to perpetuate the same violence you're complaining about when it's convenient for you. And that is one of the main problems with Black capitalists, is that they are able to justify in their own mind how the violence that they perpetuate with their accumulation of wealth is different than the shit that the white people do. And it's not.
And it ain't.
It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not.
Well, this is, again, to the point of Black capitalism and how it's no different in all this. I don't know how y'all can watch 3.5 hours of Kanye talking about, I'm on some ridiculously rich shit. Okay. Like when I get a girlfriend, I buy Birkins and all that, but I'm doing things like I'm buying houses. You hear me? he went so far as to say, and y'all know on this podcast, Erika ain't got no love for Kamala Harris. But anyway, why he talk about he would buy Kamala a house in Napa? Okay, it's just too much. But anyway, y'all gonna watch this man talk about how he's so filthy rich that he can just throw his money around enough that he can just buy random women houses at his leisure. And y'all think that he is trying to build a community with you?
When he's willing to exploit women, right? And commodify women. Yeah. And what I want y'all to know also is that, and don't mishear me when I say this, because the anti-Semitism was disgusting and it was pervasive in the interview, but so was the misogyny and so was the misogynoir. And do you see how the only headlines we've seen have been about the anti-Semitism? And there have not been the same amount of voices rising to condemn the ways that Kanye talked about women, Black women, the ways that he was just completely comfortable being grossly misogynistic.
But that's the half truth, Amber. That's the half truth in this situation when he's talking about the fact that the media decides what happens. I mean, that's the half truth of it. The media does not care about him being misogynistic against you. Like, they don't care.
Correct.
But they do care about him saying anti-Semitic things. That's just the truth of the American media.
Cares. I think there is they don't care because the media doesn't give a shit about Jews either. But it's more profitable. It's more profitable to herald Kanye West as an anti-Semite than it is to be like, Kanye West makes misogynistic statements, about exploiting and commodifying.
I think that's true. Even if a white person, a non-Jew, were to make anti-Semitic comments, I think that there is just a line in American culture and media society that if you make anti-Semitic comments, that's just not allowed.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that a white man could have fallen in that same trap. I'm not over here caving for white men.
I agree with that. Yeah.
That's what makes this thing so challenging, is that there is so much, there are part truths, half truths, that are entangled with all the lies. And yes, on a show like Drink Champs, they don't give a damn about misogyny and misogynoir. Don't nobody give a damn.
Of course not, because they sat there just a couple of weeks ago.
They want to be able to buy somebody a house.
And listen to Herb Gotti disrespect Ashanti, talk about her like she was a piece of steak for like 45 minutes. And I'm like, is anybody going to say something to this man? Like, is anybody going to say something to this man about the fact that he is literally talking about a human, a woman?
But they're the disciples.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see them sitting at people's feet, they really are, waiting for the word to come down. They really think Kanye is Moses. I mean, he thinks he's Moses. He said so much. Yeah. And they think he is too.
Yeah. And that's really tragic. And honestly, the whole point of this work is to help people with issue spotting, because I do think Erika's point is true, is that you hear certain things and you're like, well, that's a valid point, but it's a valid point wrapped around a whole bunch of BS that invalidates whatever nugget of truth is contained in that one single valid point. And hopefully we are empowering the brokers in a world full of Noris and the DJ to not be the people that sit around and listen to this stuff and not call it out for what it is, or at the very least, who aren't willing to interrogate it. That is what struck me the most, is I'm like, y'all are listening to this stuff, and I don't know if y'all are just mentally exhausted because Kanye clearly has an issue, but y'all are not even willing to interrogate the stuff that he's saying. Not on any level. Y'all aren't even willing to interrogate it or think about it critically. You're just accepting it. And really the whole point of this episode in a nutshell is to help you all not be those people by just giving you the information so that you can spot it and you are willing to be the person who raises their hand and interrogates the bullcrap.
Yeah, because you can't just be fans. We can't be out here living our lives and all we're doing is living in fandom. You have to be able to, like Amber said, you have to be able to raise your hand and ask a question And like every now and again, just to go back to the interview, they would do that. Like they would try to raise their hand real, like they didn't really want to do like, well, Kanye, well, what about this kind, in a very low voice because they're fans first. And they don't want to challenge his authority, and in this new world of manhood and, he's the billionaire in the room and I'm here to take notes and learn. You really can't challenge that power.
Yeah.
So I get why people don't, and that's because they're not journalists either. So they just they told you at the beginning they were there for ratings.
I mean,
So
basically, they did. They did. They did, and that's really sad. And before we wrap up, I do just want to say one thing because this really kind of grinds my gears when this happens. I think it's very important for people to stop saying and propagating this myth that Kanye is anti-black and acting out the way he is because he is mentally ill.
no.
Because that is an affront to all of the people who are doing the very real work of managing mental illnesses, who are out here, who are good, decent, moral people, and who are struggling and doing the work to be healthy and to show up in the world in a whole integral way. So the mental illness might amplify Kanye's foolishness, but it is not the cause of it. And y'all need to stop saying, "Oh, Kanye is crazy. That's why he's no."
And it's not. It's also because his mother passed.
No.
Right. Y'all need to stop. That is not why he's behaving and doing the things that he's doing. He's doing it because he is an attention whore who wants to be, I think, the richest person in the world. And he is trying to figure out and do anything that he can for that. And so back to the original point, this whole thing is not about Ye. This is like we're always talking about on Brokish, how capitalism will not save us. Because you can see this man on full display and the same problems that we all having at a structural level, Kanye figuring out he having them too. And that's because you Black Kanye. The billionaire status is not saving you.
Pursuing white adjacency won't save you. Getting you a white wife or a white spouse, moving to the right neighborhood, none of that stuff is going to save you. And Kanye is a master class because we've watched him do all of those things. And just like anybody else is subject to having the experience, the system is vomiting him up because that is what exploitative systems do. They consume you, and then when you're no longer any good, they vomit you up.
So, Amber, I hope this is the last time we talking about Ye. I'm sure it's not going to be the last time we talk about capitalism because that's what we do here on Barokish. And I feel like we haven't talked about this, but for this episode, I feel like there is only one piece of homework that is like that would make sense for this, and that is for other people to have to watch that damn video just like I did.
No. Actually, this has been so traumatic. I'm not even giving the homework is y'all do some self-reflection. Like honestly, just do some self-reflection. Just sit with yourself because I think all of us have to be willing to do that inward work of realizing the ways that we are entangled in a system, that we perpetuate the system, that we believe the lies that the system spits out because it is insidious and the marketing messages are coming at us every day. And you can't get out of it. We living in it. We got to survive. We got to work. We got to do what we have to do. And so it's important for us every now and then to stop and pause and just look inward and make sure that the lives that we're living and the values and the things that we're pursuing really align with who and what we want to be and who and what we want other people to be in the world. Because otherwise, we'll end up Kanye's with our little $500 and $750 after we get our tax return. We'll be just little mini versions doing the same stuff.
And this is the time when I, normally have something to say, some kumbaya, rah, rah, rah. But to the point of self-reflection, Amber, you mentioned survival. And I really want us to think about what survival means because that word has become perverted. I think we need we think we need more than we do. And I think we rationalize a lot of things because we're saying we have to. It's for our children. It's for our survival when it's not. And so I think your point is a good one. How do we get to the point of really reflecting on what we have to do to make it in this society, and then the things that we are doing because we trying to get ahead just like him in this society? And I know that it's hard. But yeah, I think that's good homework, Amber.
Ooh, just add me next time. Damn, girl.
I see you in the group chat.
Woo.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about your real estate investing club later.
No, we don't need to talk about it. I'm finna go jump out. Like, Lord, I'm out here trying to build a block and buy the block. Jesus, I'm sorry.
Don't be a gentrifier in blackface.
No.
Don't do it. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to catching up with you.
All right, good people. Thanks for listening to Brokish. For more episodes, visit us at brokish.com or subscribe, and Brokish will get direct deposited into your favorite podcast app on the 1st and 15th. Share Brokish with your friends and join the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Music for Brokish is Come Get Some by Blank and Kit. Until next time, goodbye and good luck.